Well, hello everyone, and welcome back, and as you can see, we have got equipped the Chrono ShadowSlayer class. It finally arrived in the post, and yes, the calendar's up on the door, but you're not interested in that, because you're interested in seeing how this one plays. So, overall, we're giving it rank S. It's really grown on me as I've used it, and not having an auto attack on skill 1 is quite interesting. Solo, I've given it an S, PvP an A, and farming down at a C. We're going to go through all of these little bits in a minute. I'll be showing you base class and also how it performs with some Forge enhancements chucked on it. But first of all, let us talk about the skills, and if you're not interested in these, you can skip on to the next part of the video, because as always, I've time-stamped it for you. Okay, fire, this is your auto, but not auto attack, because you physically have to press this. It's like a brand new class mechanic. It's actually really quite cool, and it is going to hold 6 shots that fire in a 0.15 second cooldown burst. So yes, it is literally pow, 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 pow. I did skimp out on the pows there should have been another couple, but you get my point. Next up, we have reload, 6-second cooldown on this one, and true damage. You load 6 shots into your revolver and refill your mana. Removes tracer rounds and FMJ rounds. So tracer rounds and FMJ are from skills 3 and 4. We'll touch on those shortly. If you have 4 or more stacks of temporal rift, consume them and enter gunslinger stance for 2 seconds, granting you 3 shots and generating chaos rifts, which block temporal rift and increase your crit damage by 20% per stack for 10 seconds. When you're using 2, generally you're going to be spamming 1 straight after to get in those bonus shots. Next up is skill 3, tracer rounds. Load tracers and fire 1, increasing your defense by 20% and dodge by 40% until you reload. Gain a temporal rift stacking to 4 and lasting 10 seconds, and a heal over time for 4 seconds based on your max health. Replaces FMJ rounds. Firing of tracer rounds paints your opponent, reducing their damage, dodge and crit chance by 6% per stack, up to 4 stacks for 12 seconds. Then we have skill 4, which is going to be FMJ rounds. Load full metal jackets and fire an empowered shot, dealing additional damage and increasing your physical damage by 25% until you reload. Gain a temporal rift stacking to 4 and lasting 10 seconds, replace tracer rounds. Firing with FMJ rounds, shred your opponent's defense by 6% per stack, up to 6 stacks for 12 seconds. And then lastly is your infamous nuke attack, which you get with every chrono, which is going to be Silver Bullet. Fire a Silver Bullet, dealing powerful damage based on how much damage was dealt in the last 10 seconds, while a rift was present and emptying your remaining rounds. So let us begin. Base class, no forge or boost, literally as plain as can be for all players. However, this image does suggest I still have my necrotic swords on, but I promise I've taken them off, chucked the calibogs on, so here we go. The combo I've been using is on screen. I just found it was the best way for me to get my survivability and DPS quite good both at the same time. So we're going 4-4-4-4-2, and then you're spamming 1 because you want to use up all your shots. So we're going 4-4-4-4, hitting your nuke for number 5. Then you've got to reload again with 2, and then as you press 2, I decided to spam 1 at that point, and then I went for a 2 for a reload, 3-4, 3-4-2, spam 1, and then we're entering back into the start of the loop again. That's probably a really overly complicated way of doing this, and when we come back and do the class build, hopefully I'll have something slightly different to go with, but at the moment that's what I've been using and what I actually enjoy doing with this class. I find it keeps me alive, it keeps me going, it does good DPS when I want to nuke. You've got to remember when you're using this class, your temporal rifts are used up when you use skill 5, and they're also used if you have your full stack when you're using your skill 2. Making sure to use a stack on your reload skill will allow you to gain that crit damage increase by 20% per stack. The reason I'm trying to get skill 3 activated within that cycle is so that we can get that defense increase and also that really high dodge increase as well. Not forgetting the debuffs it also applies to your enemy. This is definitely a slightly more complicated chrono to use than we've seen the last couple of years, but not quite like we used to get in the really OG days. A moment ago you may have seen flash up on screen that I've stuck on me damage boosters and also a load of forge enhancements. Specifically, I'm running Elysium at this point along with Vainglory, and I think we had Anima on as well. That was what I had handy at the time of doing this. Like I say, we'll cover all these when we look at an actual class build, but we finally started to get the nukes into the 200s and 300ks when we were getting there, and this class absolutely shreds through enemies. I'm not sure it's going to have as a hard hitting nuke as maybe some chronos we've seen, and particularly the ones that are all about the nuke. However, it's should still be really quite good when you get the right setup with it. I've seen people critting over 700k with this. Who knows, it probably goes above 1 million, I'm sure, as well. Personally, I feel the place this class really excels is going to be in group play when you're going in as the one needing to do DPS. As you can see on screen, the numbers are rather nice. They're only being boosted by a couple classes here. You know, we've got a Legion Rev doing its business. There's also a Varus in the background. The ability you have with this class, though, that makes it really, really useful is the fact that when you're doing boss battles, you can just get away with spamming 4 lots of 4, hitting 5 for a powerful nuke, pressing 2 to reload, which also regains all of your mana, and then just doing that all over again and not really having to worry about anything else. Of course, you can also go about using your skill 1 and absolutely spam out shots against the boss whilst being buffed by various classes. I assure you, due to that 0.15 second cooldown, it is mental how much shrekking you can do off of that skill over those few shots you put out. I'm a fan of the animations that you get with this class, and the skill icons are pretty cool as well. I did, however, have to turn all those off when we went into group play because it was absolutely destroying my computer's soul seeing all the flashing going on everywhere. I'll try test this in some ultra rooms soon, but I would expect this class to take on the DPS role in any comps that it comes across. Quite how that will play out in real life when we give it a go, I'm not too sure yet, but you know, I do quite like this class overall. Do I think it's the best chrono we've ever had? Probably not, but it is certainly different, and I like the idea of being able to use skill 1 as an actual skill and not just an auto attack. Oddly enough, when it comes to farming with this class, it's not too bad. I gave it that C tier earlier on. I kind of went on the theory of, well, if you'll use Void High Lord, then why wouldn't you use this? Because it can one-tap most low-level monsters, as you can see it doing here, and then if you activate your skill 1, again, you'll be spamming through them. So it does have many perks, however, the range isn't overly long on this, and of course, none of the skills actually multi-target, so we can't rank it all that high in the farming category. But if you're really, really desperate and you need something, then I guess why not? I found this class good fun to use in PvP, and we had a lot of success against most main classes. It goes without saying though, potters and stunners will cause you trouble. However, if you're coming across other normal players, if you are someone that plays PvP in the very small community of players that do, then it is good fun, like I say, to use. And due to the fact you can access your nuke really, really quickly, landing plenty of DPS off of skill 4, you should be able to wrap up battles relatively soon. Okay folks, so what I'll do is just summarise my thoughts. Although on paper this class does look fairly complicated to use, once you've gone through it a few times defeating a few different monsters, you'll find that you do settle into a nice little rhythm when using the skills. The combo I showed you earlier probably isn't going to be the most optimum one overall, but it's one I found was nicely balanced between being able to land your nuke and also keeping your survivability up on the class, because otherwise if you're not using skill 3, you're not going to be healing very much. It goes without saying that Forge enhancements will significantly increase your output damage that you're doing, and also don't forget that skill 1 is really quite a nice mechanic in the sense of it is not a normal auto attack and a skill you actually have to use, so it's quite nice being able to judge that in, and maybe they could use that on other classes going forwards. I will maybe occasionally use this class. Like I say, I'm not sure if it's one of my favourite chronos or not really. I'm more of a supporter kind of player, and if I do go on to a solo one, to be quite honest, I think Time Killer does more than enough damage and often does the job in most scenarios. But it is a welcomed addition. I'm sure this class is going to be buffed and nerfed and changed around yet whilst it's in its early days, so we'll keep an eye out for that, and I'm sure when those changes do land, if they land, we'll take a further look. But like I say, we'll have a look at this in Ultras, and we'll also come up with a class build for it very, very soon. Anyway folks, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like and of course subscribe, and I'll see you all again for another one incredibly soon.